Okay, now we are ready to start the second part of our cell energy cycle. We just finished with photosynthesis and how plants and certain types of algae can absorb sunlight along with some carbon dioxide and water and use that to make high energy sugars such as glucose. Now we're going to talk about the second part of that, and that is taking in those high energy sugars and breaking them down to produce short-term energy molecules called ATP, and that process is known as cellular respiration. So let's go through, talk about each of the steps. This is, as I said, the process by which most organisms obtain their energy. Not all, but most. And we'll talk about an alternative method at the end. Okay, again, you should have seen an equation very similar to this when we were talking about photosynthesis, when we said plants take in sunlight, water, carbon dioxide to produce sugar and oxygen gas. Now what we are doing here in cellular respiration is basically reversing the process. Okay, in this case, what organisms do is they take the oxygen and the sugar and they break that sugar down, producing carbon dioxide and water, which will be used by the plants, and producing energy molecules. And those energy molecules, as I said earlier, are known as adenosine triphosphate, ATP. Now, just like with photosynthesis, we broke it down into photosystem 2, electron transport chain, and photosystem 1 as part of the light dependent reactions, and then we had the Krebs cycle and the light independent reaction. There are different steps to cellular respiration. There are 3 of them. The first part is called glycolysis. Okay, this occurs out in the cytoplasm and results in a net gain of 2 ATP. There are those energy molecules that I mentioned earlier. Okay. Then the products of glycolysis will move into our special structure called the mitochondria, where the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain are used to produce even more ATP. So let's get going through this process. Okay, now again, the big energy molecule that we've been talking about is ATP. Here you can see a picture of this. Again, adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. So again, adenosine, we have ribose, our 5-carbon sugar, and we have our 3 phosphates, with most of the energy in this little chemical bond right there. So if we can break this phosphate off, we get all this energy that's in that bond. Okay, this is our primary energy molecule. This is the one that gets produced, or that we're trying to produce, through a cellular respiration. Again, we have a special structure in our cells to do that. All eukaryotic organisms do, whether they're plants, animals, fungi, or protista, and that is the mitochondrion. And here you can see, again, just like the chloroplast, the mitochondria have an inner and outer membrane. And then we have what is called the cristae. The cristae are the folds of the inner membrane. And then we have the matrix, which is the fluid portion inside that inner membrane. And we'll talk about how different parts of the cellular respiration process occur in the cytoplasm, in the cristae, and in the matrix as we go along. So let's talk first about the matrix. This is, as I said, an enzyme-filled fluid. This is where the Krebs cycle occurs. That was the second part that I just mentioned earlier. Okay, and then as I said, you have the cristae. These are the folds of the inner membrane. This is where our electron transport chain occurs. And I previously mentioned that the first step, glycolysis, actually takes place out in the cytoplasm. So we start in the cytoplasm, we move to the matrix, and then the cristae. So Glycolysis, the first step of cellular respiration. Lysis means to split. Glycolysis, glycogen. Glycogen's made up of glucose, so we're splitting glucose is what we are doing. Literally means to split glucose. This, as I said, occurs in the cytoplasm or cytosol, the liquid portion of the cytoplasm. You can see there in the picture what is happening. This is considered to be anaerobic. This part of cellular respiration is anaerobic. What does that mean? We do not need oxygen for this first part of cellular respiration. Cellular respiration does not require oxygen until we get into the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. So this first part is anaerobic, no oxygen involved. It does require a small amount of energy to get the process started. Okay, so there is what we have, or what we can say is some active energy, and it costs us 2 ATP. During glycolysis, as the name indicates, we are going to break glucose down. And when we break glucose down, we're going to split it into two molecules of pyruvic acid. Now, glucose is made up of 6 carbons. Each pyruvic acid is made up of 3 carbons. So we go from one single 6-carbon compound to 2 3-carbon compounds. Okay, and once we have produced that pyruvic acid gets moved into the mitochondria, where we can start the next step of cellular respiration. Not only is pyruvic acid produced, but we also get 4 ATP molecules and 2 NADH molecules. The NADH is a cousin of the NADPH that we talked about in photosynthesis. It too is a short-term energy molecule that will be used up to help with the next step. Okay, so as of right now, by the end of glycolysis, we have gained, and again I say gained, 2 ATP molecules and 2 NADH molecules. Again, you have to remember, even though we produced 4 ATPs, it took 2 ATPs to get this thing started, so we actually gain only 2 ATPs. So, glucose plus 2 adenosine triphosphates will produce 2 pyruvates, 4 adenosine triphosphates, and 2 NADH molecules. Again, our short-term energy molecules. And we can see here what is happening during this process. So, that is the overview of glycolysis. So what happens next? We will see on the next slide. Again, remember we're going from a single 6-carbon compound to 2 3-carbon compounds. The next thing is what we call Krebs cycle, and the first part of the Krebs cycle is known as pyruvate oxidation. Okay, we said the pyruvate is going to move into the mitochondria, specifically into the matrix of the mitochondria. That was the enzyme-filled fluid. This step does require oxygen, so the Krebs cycle is aerobic. Okay, it does require oxygen. What happens during this pyruvate oxidation, the pyruvic acid is broken down into a molecule of acetyl-CoA, and that is where we need the oxygen. The oxygen is necessary for this oxidation, hence the name oxidation. It requires oxygen. Okay, when this pyruvate is converted to acetyl-CoA, we get another molecule of NADH, and we get a molecule of CO2. It is here where some of our carbon dioxide that we breathe out is produced. So again, we produce another NADH, and we produce a CO2. Now, you have to remember that we have 2 pyruvates. So during this oxidation state, okay, we're going to actually produce 2 NADHs and 2 carbon dioxides, 1 for each pyruvic molecule. So again, an overview of pyruvic oxidation. We start with 2 pyruvates. Each pyruvate requires an oxygen, so we use 2 oxygens. That will give us 2 separate acetyl-CoA compounds, 2 NADH short-term energy molecules, and 2 molecules of CO2, which we will breathe out. Okay, that is the first part of the Krebs cycle. This is what gets the Krebs cycle started. Now, as we continue into the actual Krebs cycle itself, and again, it's called a cycle because it's going to start and end with the same substance. This is commonly called the citric acid cycle because during this cycle, citric acid is a main component. So many people call this citric acid cycle as well as the Krebs cycle. This also is taking place in the matrix. In this case, the acetyl-CoA that was produced through oxidation joins with a substance or a molecule called oxaloacetate. When we get to that acetyl-CoA and join that oxaloacetate, this is going to produce citric acid, hence the citric acid cycle. As the cycle continues, that citric acid is broken back down in oxaloacetate, so hence the cycle, because that oxaloacetate can then be used to join with some more acetyl-CoA and make some more citric acid. During that process, we are producing some more carbon dioxide, which we will expel. During this whole time, or during this cycle, you will produce 1 ATP, 3 NADH, and now we have another short-term energy molecule, FADH2. Okay, and this happens for each acetyl-CoA. And again, remember, we have 2 acetyl-CoA from our oxidation. Okay, so again, if we look at an overview of acetyl-CoA plus oxaloacetate produces acetic acid, produces, again, oxaloacetate. It is being recycled, hence the name cycle. We are going to produce 4 carbon dioxides total. So now we have our 6 carbon dioxides. We have 2 ATP molecules produced, 2 FADH2 molecules produced, and we have produced a grand total of 6 NADH molecules. And it's very important as we move along that we're keeping track of these ATPs, FADH2s, and NADHs, okay, because they contain our energy. Okay, I'm going to stop this little video here, or this part of the PowerPoint right here, and then in the second part, I will talk about the third step of cellular respiration called the electron transport chain, and then I will also get into an alternative for cellular respiration.